Welcome back to the Top Cast. This is episode number 3 of the reviewing of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, starring yours truly, the incredible T.O.P, featuring Brian O.G. Throbber, aka Mr. Briyan Wryter.
Yes, sir.
If that rhyme, then you know we on time. Episode number 3 was titled The Power Broker. And even though it really wasn't a spectacular episode, I just vaguely remember it. It did have some very, very important points about it that I want to speak about. The first point, starting from the beginning of the episode, we see John Walker, or the United States, because after all, he is the symbol of the United States, right? But what I noticed in this particular scene is that in this episode, it starts off out with him basically barging into the establishment of the folks from that helped the Flag Smashers hide out back when the first Flag Smasher sacrificed himself so that the rest of them could get away. They hid this dude hid them out basically. So the Flag Smashers got the support of the people. And the opening part of this episode is showing how John Walker has now got that intelligence information. And even though he an American, he represents America, he's all the way in a foreign country, just barging up in these people's establishment. And even though I live right here in America, it kind of reminds me of how America does through its military. How we go around usually kicking in people's doors in the second and third world, quote unquote. Did you pick up that same vibe? Were you able to extract that from this episode, Brian? And by the way, how you doing, man? Welcome back.
I'm doing well, man. Now, thank you for having me. Yeah, man, I recognize that scene, that whole dynamic, exactly how you said it. And also recognize how some foreigners, or some foreign nations and countries, have a bad taste in their mouth about America, and that was displayed when
he spit on him.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when U.S. Agent John Walker said, "Do you know who I am?" It's that arrogance, you know what I'm saying, that I think that foreigners view Americans have. The arrogance that I think a lot of foreigners view America as having. The arrogance, you know what I mean? Like, you know who I am. You know what I mean? And John Walker is in a whole nother country, barging in, demanding questions, and has the nerve to get mad when someone reciprocates that same energy. It's reality.
It's very interesting to actually see it played out in media, for me anyhow. And like I mentioned, I say that when I watch Marvel or any a visual media for that matter, I watch it because it is entertaining. But I'm also watching it because I could pick up on the underlying message that's being conveyed visually.
Mm-hmm.
And that stood out to me immediately. I immediately was like, oh wow, I've seen this before. After that, we go into, and incidentally, in that scene and the scene that I'm getting ready to talk about, you got two white men that's in charge in the form of the new Captain America, John Walker, with his black sidekick, right? Who helps him, who also turns out to be an interpreter, right?
Yeah.
And then we go right into the next scene with the same thing happening in the form of Bucky and Sam Wilson. Although they're presented more like they're partners. But you can say the same on either end. But what stood out to me about both of these scenes is that the white guys were in charge, and they were talking to other white people, and the black person was kind of like tagging along because in the very next scene we see Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes going to holler at Zemo,
Yeah.
which is interesting in and of itself. A white guy who's a killer
Hmm.
going to see a white guy who's in prison
Yo,
with his black friend.
that 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 scene with John Walker in Battlestar, right? For some reason, when Battlestar became a translator all of a sudden for John Walker, for some reason, and mind you, and like you got to excuse my reach for this, but it just kind of gave me Bass Reeves vibes, because Bass Reeves was the inspiration for the Lone Ranger #1, but
Yeah.
Bass Reeves was able to go into um, indigenous territory in America, and he was accepted there, whatever, and he's able to speak their languages.
Mm.
So
Interesting connection.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm reaching, but it just gave me that vibe, I mean,
Oh no, I could dig it, man. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and
because,
to be honest, I didn't even think of that myself.
yeah, because you know how in America, back when America before it became America became fully, what I mean, so-called I don't say civilized, but conquered by the Europeans. Native Americans were still running a lot of America. You know what I mean? So the Europeans, whatever the settlers, pilgrims, whatever you want to call them, they would use whoever they could use to solve whatever issues they had. You know, and
Exactly.
they use Bass Reeves as a way to you know get things done because they go in those areas safe and survive and come back. So yeah, it just gave me them vibes, whatever about Bass Reeves. I just wanted to put that in there.
Okay. Again, that's very interesting, and I just want you to find folks who's listening to this on the playback understand that these are just the first two opening scenes
Mm,
before we get to the title credit of the episode. We talk about the first 10 minutes of the show.
yep.
You understand? Before we actually get into the full episode. But after those two very, very interesting scenes, and see, for me and you, Brian, we have a totally different understanding than most people. We look at it with a different lens. We look at it with a counter racist lens. And so it's a lot easier for the two of us to have this kind of conversation because first, we both are exposed or privy to the same type of information that will allow us to see these things actually being played out because most black people, I would imagine, wouldn't have even thought a second thought about any of the things that we just said in these 8.5 minutes.
Nah, a small amount of us. Small amount of us, unfortunately.
Mhm. And what a lot of us don't understand, what me and you understand more than most people, is that when it comes to this racism thing, this white supremacy thing, because racism is white supremacy. You can't separate the two. Is that we are literally like saturated in it. Almost a good analogy is a fish in a fishbowl.
Hmm.
You're in the fish is immersed in the fishbowl in the water, but it can't discern that it's in the water because if you told it it was in water, it would ask you, "What are you talking about?" It has no concept of it. And I say that to say that a lot of us, unfortunately, are very, very confused about the situation that we in. And we even lie to ourselves about it. But that's another subject for another time. That's just the lens that I am using to view this series through. And I see a lot of interesting things that would not be there. I mean, I wouldn't be able to see them if they weren't there. So we then actually get into the episode itself. And I consequently, what happens is when Bucky and Sam Wilson go to see Zemo, Bucky's already devised a way to break him out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you have another white man that's already a criminal who's been absolved of his criminal past, doing more criminal acts. It's amazing. It's like we can do it, but you better not do it. Because remember, when Sam Wilson helped out Captain America in Civil War, he
Yep.
got locked up.
Yep. Right.
Here you go. He ain't learned his lesson. He right over here with Bucky, helping break somebody else out of jail, commit a crime essentially.
Yep.
That's exactly goes exactly to my point. Most of us are very confused about how this racism thing works. But we go into the opening scene of the actual episode where we find out that Zemo is low key a superhero as much as Sam Wilson is, but the difference is he's like a foreign Tony Starks.
Mm.
And if you know anything about his comic backstory, you know that he's actually descends from in the comic he descends like from a line of Zemos, and they have a specific mission. And you get some Easter eggs of this in the visuals by his mask, which happens to be in the back of one of his classic cars, is probably worth enough to pay both of our salaries for the year.
Indeed. Indeed.
But what did you think about Bucky with Sam's assistance actually performing a jail bust or a jailbreak? Letting and you folks got to be reminded, if you didn't see Civil War, Zemo is the reason why Bucky was wanted in Civil War. He actually was the protagonist in the entire, or at least one of the protagonists in one of the, or is it antagonist?
I think
Okay, well he was one of, at least he was one of the antagonists in the overall story. That's how he got to be in jail
mm-hmm.
because he mind controlled Bucky. And in this series, when Bucky went to see him, he tried it again. But what did you think about all these things playing out? Because even though it wasn't as interesting as the first two episodes to be, there was still quite a lot packed into this episode.
Yeah, man. I think this was maybe more cerebral, I guess, to a degree, versus action packed. But yeah, that scene where he took it upon himself to decide to break out Zemo. Bucky decided to break out Zemo, um, and have Sam Wilson help him out by default. That also gave me vibes of Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, where the wild card, where he gonna do what he want to do.
The Danny Glover
Yeah,
classic.
yeah.
Yeah, you're telling your age now, bro. But I can see it. I can see it in your beard. I ain't on camera right now. You look at my picture, you can't see the gray in it, but it's a little bit in there in the picture. But I got some too. I don't want to share right now. Lethal Weapon. I seen all three of them. Go ahead, bro.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It just reminded me that Bucky Barnes is more of a wild card dude, um, in comparison to Sam Wilson, and yeah, I mean, and yeah, like me, you talk behind the scenes about it to a degree. When it comes to what I mean, to white people, a lot of times when they have disagreements, or even a war, it's business, never personal with them. It seems like. So if they need to get something done, they'll go to their old rivals or their old enemies and make a pact.
Yes,
Get through.
exactly. especially when it comes to who's going to stomp on the black people.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's what I noticed about that. You know what I mean? Like I said, man, Marvel really does a good job at uh, uh, as far as this series, as in pulling in things in reality and putting them in this series very well.
Indeed, I agree. And I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I appreciate you, sir. In case nobody else has told you, I'm telling you right now. I don't know you personally, but your work has impacted me greatly. And Mr. Fuller says something similar to the analogy he gave was he used the Civil War as the analogy,
Mm.
and what his remarks were that what you could take away from that situation is white folks basically was having a dispute about who was going to be in charge of those who were in subjugation, us.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they concluded their, you know, their dispute, they dusted themselves off, shook hands, and went the hell on home because at the end of the day, they still in charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just which group of them was going to be in charge. So I think that as black folks we could take a lesson from that, and because we behave way more emotional than they do, and I'm not saying to be like them because they do it. I'm saying that we can utilize that and it'll help us out, especially in our struggle against them. Any comment in regard to what I just said?
No, I mean what you said is very true. You know, I mean much respect to the great Neely Fuller Jr. Um, um, what you said about the things that we can take from their behavior, even when it comes to war, is very true. Um, I do believe too many of us act uh, immaturely, and we could learn how to and and like you can learn from negative and positive. You know, it's all about perspective. It's all about finding the constructiveness in whatever thing that you recognize, that you're aware of. You know, in any situation, finding the positive in all situations, if you will, and as callous and as hypocritical or as whatever fake as as some people may think it is, the whole thing about how they can go to war with each other and say, you know what, you won, all right, shake hands, okay, let's go back to business of dominating these people over here. um that's something that we can learn from, definitely. You know what I'm saying? The idea of um word to Nino Brown, business never personal. You know, yeah.
Exactly. Classic movie, by the way, New Jack City. I watched that movie so much back in the '90s that I knew almost the entire dialogue of the movie word for word. But I was doing practicing a little bit of my Negro tree. We're perfect in that we are exactly as the Creator intended us to be, but we're not perfect as in what we think ideally is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What we come further to find out, the purpose of Bucky going to break Zemo out of jail is because Zemo got information, and he got information about a specific locale that is we come to find out is Madripoor, but it's a lawless place where you can go and do, what kind of business that you really want to do out here in the world. And I say that to say that it highlighted for me the importance of access of information.
Mm-hmm.
We always hear this cliche that knowledge is power, information is power, but a lot of us don't really seek information. or we seek information that's in the grand scheme of things meaningless. It can't really move anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I took from the rest of that particular portion of the episode. When they went to see Zemo, and then subsequently they broke him out, and they found out that he was a baron, he was rich, he got his own private jet like Tony Stark's and everything, and he was a superhero low key.
Mm.
Did you take anything from that particular portion? Any comments in it, in regards to it?
About them going to Madripoor? Not really, man. I will add on to what you said about the knowledge thing. Um, Applied knowledge is power. People say information is power, knowledge is power, but I think the proper term will be applied knowledge is power. The ability to apply that knowledge and information is power. But no, I don't have anything for that section.
So, and then right after that, we roll into the next scene, which it features the flag smashers, and in this scene, we find out that I think her name is Mama Danya,
Okay.
that she passes away. And this is what we was talking about back in the first episode when I say that they changed the entire storyline because they say that this lady died of tuberculosis. Well, I mean, it's like 2023 in the Marvel Universe. They don't have a cure for tuberculosis. But the original storyline allegedly had something to do with a pandemic.
Mm.
And allegedly, Mama Danya, that character, who is the mother figure to some of the flag smashers,
Mm.
um, she have had to have passed away from this pandemic. And because we actually having a pandemic in real life, allegedly, they had to cut that out of the story because it wouldn't play well in particular places on the planet.
Yeah.
So, but we cut to that, which it almost seemed out of place, especially when I came to find out that they had actually gutted the storyline and redid it all together, switched it up, made it about the super soldier serum. I would actually have liked to have seen it, in the original iteration.
Mm.
Yeah, I bet you it's really, really got a lot going on. But that didn't take up too much time. But this episode, it seemed to me like, at least to a large degree, it did focus on Madripoor.
Mm.
And what would one thing that stood out to me about Madripoor is that it's actually imaginary place located in Southeast Asia in the Marvel universe, and it's somewhere that's frequented by X-Men or mutants, and one in particular, Wolverine. Even though we didn't actually see him in this episode, but I thought that was interesting. As a comic book fan, as a Marvel, as an MCU fan, I thought that was interesting that they actually showed us Madripoor in the MCU.
Mm.
Because for me, even though it hasn't got here yet, it's an indication that we close to the X-Men, or we go be working towards it. And I can't wait to see that in the MCU because we finally get somebody to make these movies properly.
Mm.
But what stood out to me immediately is that the two white men was about business, and Sam got dressed up like a pimp, and he the one who had to impersonate somebody.
Mm.
I thought that was hilarious. What did you think about that part? And then the way they were escorted into the city, the fact that it's a lawless city, but people who actually are there to be about doing business.
Mm.
It's illegal business.
Well, money runs everything, so they gotta do business, I guess, even in a lawless society. Um, yeah, the one thing I noticed about that scene where they were all walking on the bridge, Zemo, Sam Wilson, and Bucky, and Bucky had to, Sam Wilson had to impersonate someone else. I think the Smiling Tiger was his name, right?
Also, another Marvel character.
Yeah, I don't know if it's another Marvel character, but I guess it was. I don't know. I never heard of him. But to me, it seemed like they was paying like a ode to uh, Sam Wilson's old character, or I mean origin in the comic book. Um, just to give a little background, Sam Wilson, in the comic book, he was from Harlem. Um, a lot of black characters in the Marvel in the MCU back then, the Marvel universe was from Harlem.
Yeah, yeah. Luke Cage too.
Yeah. So, but anyway, he's from Harlem. But anyway, he's from from a black neighborhood basically, and he witnessed both his parents die at different or murdered at different points of his life as a child. And in the comic book, in his origins, as a like a traumatic reaction to the trauma he lived through, he created an alter ego named Snap, and Snap had like a pimpish aura about himself. He dressed like a pimp, like or Mac, whatever, but more like a pimp. And
Okay, okay. See, I wasn't aware of that.
yeah,
And see, that's why I'm glad that I invited you here, to have these conversations with me because, I look at things with a unique perspective, and then you got further facts because you more into the backstory than
yeah,
I am. I'm more of the movie buff.
hmm
But yeah, I find that to be highly, highly interesting. And as far as Madripoor, what the most important thing that we come to find out in a roundabout way is that the power broker is none other than a white woman in the form of Sharon Carter,
mm,
Agent Peggy Carter, niece or grandniece, something. The chick that helped Sam Wilson, Bucky, and Captain America out in Civil War, the
yeah,
blonde haired girl.
mm,
She ends up being the power broker. This is how we find this out in the last episode, folks. So, spoiler. But the reason why I found it so interesting is because it immediately made me think of feminism.
mm,
Immediately. Because from my perspective, the way I see it is the white guys had their turn. Now it's the white girls' time to have their turn.
hmm
And that's really what feminism is all about, in my mind, to sum it up. And it is what it is. But I found it highly interesting that the power broker was a woman and no less a white woman at that.
mm.
I just find that to be highly, highly interesting. And considering that, you know, feminism is a thing amongst people right now.
Mm.
What did you think? What do you think about that?
Um, I don't know, man. Like I can see that, like I think, like once again, Marvel recognizes the climate of the world, and they used her character to be able to tie her in because Marvel seems to not want to waste any characters they use, in their movies and their films, and like they maximize all their characters. It seems like, which I think is a dope idea, and it's especially good for the actors and actresses too. But as far as the feminism point, whatever, yeah, I mean I can see that. They see that women more so are trying to um, uh, gain more agency and a position of authority in the world, and that whole girl power, movement, So I mean, I definitely can see that because in the comic book, the power broker was the two people, but the main person who ran it, his name was Curtis Jackson. Curtis with two S's, and so it was a man. It wasn't a woman. And Peggy Carter or what's the name? Agent Carter.
Yeah, yeah, Peggy Carter. Peggy Carter is the character from Captain America, the first movie.
Oh,
She's the girl that liked him.
okay, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So Agent Carter was never a power broker ever in the comic book. It was a guy
Yeah.
named Curtis Jackson, and
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, I can see that. They want to please the audience,
Mhm.
human audience.
Mhm. Basically, this entire episode, well, not entire, but for the most part, it focuses on um, uh, Zemo using his underworld connections to get Bucky and Sam the information that they're looking for. And at this point, they're looking for the super soldier formula sciences.
Yes.
And he just so happens to be in Madripoor. He actually works for the power broker, who we come to find out is Agent Sharon Carter. And basically, in this episode, I think, for example, I think that at least initially, to keep the episode, continuity correct, that they didn't tell us outright then and there that Sharon Carter was actually the power broker, but they did let us get some action scenes out of her, and she proved herself to be a very capable young lady.
Indeed.
She could take care of herself if she was ever walking down the street at 3 a.m. in the morning through through the hood. So, be careful who you run up on, guys. And I point that out to say that you should never underestimate a woman as a man.
Hmm.
They may not have the brute strength that we do as men, but if you underestimate a woman, you could quickly find out how dangerous they really are,
Hmm.
or how deadly they really can be. And that's what I picked up out of the particular moments of the episode where they had her in the action scenes. I think she beat up like 5 or 6 guys by herself.
Oh yeah.
Before the scientists got killed. Unfortunately. But what did you notice that? Did you pick up on that?
Oh yeah. She was a badass. Yeah, she was a badass, man. I mean, she was definitely able to handle herself. Um, I fuck with it. I mean, I like that fight scene she had. You know.
Yeah, it was really, really quite entertaining. And again, I have to suspect that the first lady that uh that they went to see after they went through their little initiation at the bar, when Sam Wilson had to drink the drink with the little snake innards in it.
Mm.
Um, that lady was killed by Peggy Carter, by
Mm.
Sharon Carter, and she was killed by her. And the vibe that I got was it was her as a power broker protecting her interests.
Mm.
Not that the person she killed actually knew that she was the power broker, but she knew enough that people would become aware or have some kind of inkling that, oh, this is the power broker.
Mm.
You know, but not only did I get that vibe then, but I also got that vibe when the scientist guy got killed, because after all, they was there. Well, the scientist, actually, to be accurate, Zemo killed the scientist guy
Yes.
because that's Zemo's MO. That's his modus operandi. That's his mission as a quote unquote superhero. Is he detests super soldiers. And
Mm.
so he goes around trying to take them out. And there's no better way to take them out than to kill the source
Hmm.
that creates them, which is what happens. And then that's when they are attacked. But remember, the scientist works for the power broker. So again, I wonder if Zemo hadn't killed the scientist, if the guy with the RPG would have still blew up the laboratory, because that's what happened when Sharon Carter finally fought off all those mean men, mean tough guys, and caught back up with them in the lab, and when Zemo killed the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, protect. I'm getting that. I'm the power broker. I have to kill this guy. I don't want to, but I have to kill this guy to protect my identity because I know these guys that's looking for the information. So again, don't sleep on women. They know how to play chess or make chess moves too. Um, Pretty much, like I was saying, pretty much the episode pretty much revolved around that, and that took up, I want to say, at least a good 35, 40 minutes of the content.
Yeah.
And then we get back into the flag smashers, and we find out that they casing one of the GSF locations. To me, they look quite conspicuous, but I didn't really find this to be very interesting or even necessary. It seemed more like filler information because it painted the flag smasher group as like terrorists,
Mm.
as if their cause didn't have merit. And that's really all that I took from that. And also in this part of the episode, we have another female. I came to find out that she's racially ambiguous, but she looks like a white female. And I've noticed that in both cases, you have both white females in very dominant positions,
Mm.
very high positions of power in Sharon Carter and Carly Morgenthau. Did you happen to pick up on that?
Oh yeah, like I definitely they they're making very good use of their feminine characters, and make sure that they're not in a more subservient uh, role, you know. I mean, I don't really mind it, it's entertainment, I mean, I guess it might go for good. It might inspire some young ladies, to be more assertive. Um, but however, I mean, even though the characters they played are rebellious, so I think that may be it might promote more of the negative in females who may watch this type of stuff, So but that goes back to what you said about the push for feminism, and how you said you can't sleep on women. How Sharon Carter was deadly, and if we understand anything about female nature, we know that women are deceptive and very secretive and manipulative, and
Indeed,
they play innocent,
indeed, indeed. And subsequently in this part of the episode, like I mentioned, they was casing the GSF location, and what we come to find out later on is just like we seen with Sharon Carter. The young lady Carly Morgenthau made plans to actually bomb this place,
Mm.
and she did it with the guy in the car. And I thought that was really significant because here it is, and she's displaying what she's willing to do,
Hmm.
to make her point. And I thought it was really interesting because it came off and gave me the same vibe, but it was a little more intense because you actually are blowing people up to make your point. And to speak back to the point that I made about women, don't sleep on them. Sleep with them, but don't sleep on them. You understand what I'm saying? Because they could rock your world. You never know. It might not be a hot pot of grits. It might be a napalm bomb. Blow your house up with you in it. So be careful with how you treat these women out here, gentlemen.
Hmm.
You know, gotta move carefully.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I took from that part of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we basically, like I said in the beginning, this episode didn't really have a lot of action to go into detail about, but it ended with Zemo, Sam Wilson, and Bucky again going to basically like one of Zemo little safe houses or something to that nature. But in this ending part of the episode, what you notice is Bucky dip off and tell him to go ahead, and he meet up in the back alley with his black girlfriend from Wakanda, because he the white wolf, now. You know what I'm saying? This dog got to chase the cat. Why I gotta be like that? But yeah, we I noticed that, and I mentioned this before, that if you pay attention in cinema, you'll always notice that even black folks in position of power are somehow assisting white folks. And no more or nowhere else does that stand out anywhere more so than in this particular episode, in this particular part of the episode, particularly because he's dealing not just with a black woman from America, but one from Africa, and the most technologically superior place in Africa of all places. It spoke to me in as much that we as black folks, we could be very compassionate towards people who mean us no damn good at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because had they not helped Bucky, you would still be able to use him as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Why not a weapon against Wakanda? So that's what I picked up off of that. And he had to explain to his black girlfriend in the alley how he broke out this white man who killed her king, so that he could use him to get what he's after. And you can wait, bitch. You know what I'm saying? This part of the episode was very, very interesting to me. What are your thoughts, Brian? I know you go. I hear it come. I'm ready for it.
No, I mean, I ain't have too much. I don't have too much to it, man. And I mean, I will add on what you said about the whole feminism aspect. We had Sharon Carter, um, um, what was Pauline Morgenthau, and now we have, I'm not sure I understand it, Oyoye.
Yeah, I think her name was Okoye in the
Oh,
movie.
okay, Okoye. I apologize, Okoye.
Yeah, she a mean boy.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my speed right there. The way she was standing up there in that alley with that motherfucker leather on.
yeah, man. So
Even with the bald head, bro, she a piece of work.
yeah, she is whatever. Like, and I don't care for the bald head chicks, whatever. But yeah, but yeah. So we had three dominant women in this episode, making demands. You know what I'm saying? And you felt their energy. You know what I mean? And you felt that they could whoop your ass. Um, So I'll be glad to see her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, when I saw that, like, I got chills when I seen her. You know what I mean? In that end. Um, but yeah, I saw but he still had to answer to her. Answer to Wakanda. You know, to the motherland. You know, the nation that healed him, that got his mind right. Because white people have always went to Africa to learn how to do things, to carry their babies. That's why you see white women now with the baby, they hold the baby around their back or on their front. You know what I'm saying? So,
And I want to.
but
I want to say right quick. I think I might got her name wrong. I think Okoye is the leader of the Dora Milaje. She was the one who was married to your man from the Border Tribe.
Okay, yeah.
I think,
Okay.
yeah, I think she might be AO or
Yep.
something like that. I can't think right now, but she a bad sister.
Yeah. You're right. It is AO. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, AO. Or IO, AO or IO. But yeah, but like that's about it, man. I got for that. Oh yeah, and I'm wearing a shirt says Hatu Zaraze, and that's a reference to the Wakanda police that in the comic book, the White Wolf, aka Bucky Barnes, wasn't what um was supposed to be the lead of. Well, but in the comic book, whatever, Bucky wasn't the White Wolf, but
Hmm.
he was a White Wolf in this. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have him in the Black Panther too, but in Wakanda, there's a male police, and it's called the Hatu Zaraze.
Hmm. Yo, your t-shirt game is on point, bro.
Thank you,
You know,
man.
I gotta salute you.
Thank
And
you.
it, for all you fine folks out there, Brian could be your t-shirt stylist. I think I'll have to hire you as my personal t-shirt stylist because I had no idea. You know, you got it over there hiding a little bit. I couldn't see it and whatnot, but now I see it. I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I think your shirt is fire, and yeah, I see the pictures in the background, bro. You got
Indeed.
you. Can I get a Eric Killmonger for Christmas, bro? That's what I want for Christmas. Hook me up, Black Santa. But yeah, man. Again, out of the 6 episodes, this one probably was not as interesting to me as much as the other 5. I did like Madripoor as an Easter egg because for me it signaled what Kevin Feige already spoke on. I think it was what 2019 when he said the mutants are coming. He didn't call them X-Men. He said mutants. So
Mm.
that kind of gives me an indication that we gonna actually get into their backstory before we actually get to the X-Men, especially since the Eternals is coming up later on this year. I think in like November. I'm waiting. I can't wait for the Black Widow movie to come out, bro. And
July 9th.
yeah, and we get a month of Loki before that, which those episodes start this Wednesday, which is June 9th. And I'm going to be covering those also, me and Brian, if Brian is up for
Okay.
it. Because that's just, whoo, I really like time because for me, it's an acronym for the end of mind's eye.
Mm.
You know, it's all about perception, ladies and gentlemen. Brian, any final thoughts on this episode before we get out of here, bro?
Yeah, I got one more thing. The scene where when Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and Zemo and Bucky was walking on the bridge, and Sam Wilson, he made a point about he feels like he dressed like a pimp. Like I was saying about how I think that they paid an ode to his origins. The character alter ego named Snap. I, the one thing I like that Zemo said in response to what Falcon said about he feels like he dressed like a pimp. I like that he took a shot at white supremacy in his own way by saying only in America. He said only America would a forward dressing black man uh, be seen as a pimp. You know, basically he say he dressed fine. You know what I'm saying? But the westernized, your westernized uh, stereotypical perception of black men dressed like that is seen as pimpish, as derogatory.
Mhm. Yeah, I do recall that also. And before we get out of here, I just want to make a comment on what you said prior to that in regards to Bucky being indebted to Africa.
Mm.
You know, that also follows the historical narrative where really even though white folks are in control and they run everything and they're prosperous, it wouldn't be possible without Africa.
Indeed.
So they are indebted. And
And
I when you mentioned it, it immediately made sense to me. So make sure everybody check out my man Briyan Wryter. His IG information is going to be in the video description below. I am the incredible T.O.P. I'd like to thank you for joining us for episode number 3, which covers episode number 3 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, titled The Power Broker. This has been another episode of the T.O.P Cast. Make sure you follow both of my Instagram pages, The Incredible T.O.P and the T.O.P Cast Instagram page. Make sure you catch episodes of the T.O.P Cast while you're at work or while you're driving in your car on Anchor Podcast or your favorite podcast outlet. Just type in the T.O.P Cast, exactly how it's spelled here on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and bang that subscribe button, man. You know what time it is. If you like Marvel. If you don't, keep it moving. We'll catch you for some other content at another time. Thanks for joining us. Thanks again, Brian, man. I appreciate you coming through. And we'll be back. We'll be back for our first episode, hopefully, covering the first episode of Loki, which starts again on the 9th of June this month, couple days. And we'll be back next weekend to cover episode number 4 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier for you and yours. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, share, and comment. I appreciate it. Till next time, peace.
peace.
Peace, Brian.